Dark and delusional, dark and delusional, dark and delusional, dark and delusional. Welcome to another episode of Dark and Delusional, where we talk about everything dark and delusional. And tonight we have the biggest pool of participants that have ever been in the podcast at one time, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting. But we do have a main guest, and I'll let him introduce himself. Our main guest tonight is a very special person, giving you a warm welcome from everywhere that is awesome. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Poop Slinger.
And what did you want to talk about tonight, Poop Slinger?
I want to discuss how 9/11 was an inside job.
You know what? We're already here, so we're gonna go through with it. Even if it totally destroys my podcast, it will get posted. So
well, people hate the truth, so.
I'm well read on 9/11 conspiracy theories because I used to be very into reading about conspiracy theories in general, especially when I was in high school. It was like my Reddit hobby. I was on our conspiracy like every fucking day, people. So I'm familiar of a couple theories, but I'm gonna let you steer the podcast and take it where you want to go. And if you left anything out, I will say before we begin, so I can look like a decent human being, that I will never debate against the fact that people died in 9/11 and it was a terrible event.
No, tragedy, 100%.
100%.
Disgusting.
Sad for that people, but it was at such a mass scale and realistically happened in a country that sort of thing should never happen in, right? Like,
even more tragic that it was just for money. Absolutely.
I'm going to look forward to listening in on that later. But for now, we're going to take a moment of silence for the families and all the lives that were lost in that terrible day. So we talk about conspiracy. Obviously, when something this big and this tragic happens, you have millions and millions of eyes on it. And, over time, millions and millions of theories, especially when things don't seem right from point A to point B with the whole situation, right? So, conspiracy theories aside, what about 9/11 is most off-putting to you?
Probably the good old jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, and the insurance policy taken out on the buildings. Disturbing to me. Shortly before the attack. Tower 7 falling by itself. There's the video of the Pentagon where it looks like a missile hit the side of the fucker. There's a lot. Perfect. I mean, it's 2001 footage, but it definitely doesn't look like a 747. I'm no expert, but...
Let's start with the insurance policies, because I don't know this one personally.
Very shortly before the attacks, the building owner took out an insurance policy.
We're talking about the Twin Towers, right?
Yeah,
like the
for
Twin Towers.
Billions of dollars or whatever to cover the costs. Fucking, I don't know the exact number.
You're fine. And you know what? I'm just gonna stop right here and note that be as natural as possible. It's about having fun, and I edit. If you need to take a piss, say I gotta go take a piss, or go take a piss.
World Trainer insurance policies covering buildings 1, 2, 4, 5 had collective face amount of $3.55 billion.
Oh,
I wanted to say 4, but I wasn't sure. So
that's pretty close, though, dude.
Yeah.
Damn.
That one's extremely sus.
Do you know if they actually got paid out for what happened to the Twin Towers?
I looked it up, and it says which led to court cases and final settlement of 4.55. So I would assume they got paid out.
I mean, I don't know. That's wild. I mean, yeah, obviously it's just weird to think about.
Larry Silverstein was their lawyer. I believe MythBusters did jet fuel can melt steel beams.
Actually, I've even seen more convincing ones, man. Actually, so like back in the heyday when Reddit was cool, so probably like 2009. Man, there was a bunch of YouTube videos of there's pretty much a whole like documentary put together of interviewing people with like material experience and how they explain like, scientifically how like what happened isn't possible. Like, by the way we know it, you know, obviously something weird went on, but the jet fuel thing. So the jet fuel theory, correct me if I'm wrong, is pretty much like the whole reason the Twin Towers actually burned down is because the plane hit like the top of the buildings and it burned. You know, the jet fuel just started melting steel beams and lighting the whole place on fire, right?
Yeah, and the way they fell is just so sus. I mean, I know it's
Well,
just
anyone who's seen
anecdotal, but it's like
less than
it falls like
anecdotal,
a
dude.
complete controlled explosion. Like when you chop a tree down, the part you take away, it
Right.
leans that way and falls over. Not, I don't know. It's just all
I was
wild.
gonna say the opposite, dude. From what I've seen, like of the footage, like, and I'm not an expert or anything, but that shit looks more like an implosion than it looks like an explosion. It looks like it was like designed to fall down that perfectly. Because if you're thinking explosion, you're thinking like boom, scatter force. Where more of like, to me, like especially in the damage afterwards, it seemed like the whole structure fell in on itself, and then that
Yes.
force of the structure hitting the ground at once kind of set the wave of dust and debris through everything, you
All the
know?
cancerous asbestos flowing through the city for miles.
Hey, a little bit of asbestos never hurt anybody.
Yeah, that was
No, sick
metric
though.
tons. Yeah,
So
a
wait,
little bit's
wait,
okay,
hang
but
on, cover that. I didn't know that. So fucking what? There was asbestos like in the building structure of the Twin Towers?
I believe so. It's an old building. That's what who's the Late Show guy? He went and testified in front of Congress for the firefighters and all the first responders to get treatment because they were all getting cancer and fucking dying.
Holy shit.
From
Wait,
yeah, yes,
what was it? John Stewart?
Stewart.
Oh my god. This
Yeah,
is fucking getting deep now. Huh. You know, you
I
learn
believe
something
Jim.
every
I
day.
think Jim Belushi was a firefighter during 9/11 too. I think, or he signed up right after. That's what made him. That's another fun fact. But
That is
yeah, those guys were dying
what?
left and right. Still are. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucked up, man. Poor fucking guys, man.
Yeah. More than 3,000 people died. I don't even want to know how many it is after fucking you account for all that too.
That's sick. That's sick to think
Couple
about.
thousand more, I'm sure at least.
Well, that's really fucked up, man. I didn't realize that people who, you know, were they were the first responders of 9/11. They've been dying from
Oh yeah.
essentially asbestos poisoning or just other causes, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think a frightening percentage above average got cancer
Huh.
or other issues afterwards,
Man, that's fucked up.
presumably caused by that. They argued against it, but I think they did get whatever, free healthcare, all their shit taken care of eventually, but they denied it for a while.
Obviously, this is obviously an emotional subject. I mean, you know, this is one of those moments in history that you always remember where you were when 9/11 happened. Me, I mean, besides if you actually you guys might have been too young. I
I was gonna
remember.
say, unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, no, I
I
was
was 3 to date myself,
I
but
was I was in kindergarten, so I was like 4 years old,
I was in
and
fourth grade.
yeah, so you were in fourth grade. How was that experience? So just through the kindergarten eyes, like I remember the it was a really weird day because I went to the Catholic school at the time, so that place was like strict, you know, and it was really weird because the teacher was just watching a TV and like TV was never on. It was Catholic school. We needed to read our Bibles and learn cursive. Damn it! But fucking the TV was on and I saw, you know, the video of the plane hitting the towers and they canceled school like right then and there. And our parents came up and picked us up and, you know, like that's where I was when that happened. Where were you?
I was just chilling in fourth grade class, and all of a sudden, yeah, like the TV was turned on. I did remember like the planes crashing. What was kind of shitty was, I think during the news, it was like, it's like all these terrorists from Pakistan, and lo and behold, everyone knows that my parents are from Pakistan, and they're like
Oh,
looking at me
no.
like, oh shit.
And you're like, oh fuck, man.
They're like,
Shit.
oh fuck. And yeah, I think that was like the walk of shame, like getting
Yeah.
walked into the bus.
Holy
I think
shit, you're not kidding, dude. That must have been pretty fucking horrible, man.
yeah, and I had nothing to do with it, of course, but at the time, I think just there was a lot of fear. I just remember teachers were like, "Oh shit, the end of the world," type of
No
deal.
shit. But can we take a second? And that's fucked up. And to be honest, your experience was probably shared throughout millions of Americans at the time because, it's a mixed country. I mean, that must have been a terrible feeling to see that because you guys sympathize with what happened as much as anybody. It's the same thing, same people, same thing,
Yeah, no, it was shitty. Like,
It is shitty, and it's shitty that you were feeling that way at 4th grade, Like, fuck. It's fucked. But I always thought it was weird to me, sitting there in kindergarten, I thought it was weird that I was like, why is there footage of this? Did they, just know this was going to happen and then pointed their cameras towards the sky so it could be broadcasted on the on the news,
right, everything was scripted.
Is that
Like,
weird?
the
Is that
media
weird?
Yeah,
was-
there's a lot of angles of it.
yeah.
That's weird to other people though here, right? Like now, why was there even
Oh.
if it was supposed to be
I
like
feel
a
like now would
surprise?
be more normal because there's so much
Yes.
happening. But in
But back
2001,
then,
it's
no.
crazy.
Were camera
Yeah.
phones common back then? I can't remember.
No.
No, but
I don't
these
think
were
they
shot,
were.
These were shot with news, like the best cameras that were on the market.
nice
dude.
cameras from the
It-
angles
it-
I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were shot with the best we had at the time. And fucking, why were they pointed in that direction? Has always been my question.
I
It's
don't
like,
know.
I mean,
There's like
New
hundreds.
York's a big
of
city. I
angles.
guess the amount of cameras isn't crazy, but I mean, how fast is a plane going? 400 miles an hour, 500? It's like the fact that there's so many
Well,
Yeah.
I do
decent
have a
angles of
question
it hitting
about
the
it.
building
Yeah,
is wild.
what's your question? Are you Peachy?
yeah.
What's your question,
So-
Peachy?
I know, I don't know how, aware, I know, obviously they hijacked the plane and stuff. Did maybe, some...
Wasn't
like-
there 2 planes?
Yes, and I think
Three.
the second one hit
3?
like
Oh,
15
4.
minutes
4?
after. There was 4
Oh,
planes,
we're just talking
yes.
about the towers. Never
Yeah,
mind.
No,
yeah,
but the
No, we're talking
towers,
about
there
the
was a second
planes.
plane, and it hit like 15 minutes or so after
it
the
was
first one,
rapid.
Yeah.
something like that.
So do
Yeah.
you think,
So
maybe other
maybe
planes or,
Most of the footage is from the second plane hitting. I'm
they
not
got
sure.
word of, the plane got hijacked and they brought the news in just because, maybe they knew that plane was supposed to be
I think
going
there was very
in
small coverage for a hijacked plane before
is
it hit the
strange,
first
though,
tower.
for it being, that much
Dude,
coverage for
it could
2001.
be, and New York, I mean, they all
They
gunning
always
for
got
that
crazy shit going
Yeah.
on.
So I guess the question I want to ask is, what was the reasoning for targeting the Twin Towers? I get it was somewhat of a unique building structure. The Twin Towers, cool, but I never really got wasn't it just mostly rented out, subleased all the way up for different stock companies and shit?
It,
I think-
it got
I think it was
leased
just a
out
symbol.
6 weeks before the attack.
What was that? Say
I
that
know
again.
that.
JH,
It got
say that.
leased out for 99 years, 6 weeks before the attack.
I
It
think
got
that's when
leased-
the
it got
insurance
leased
policy
out-
comes into play as well.
For 99 years. 99
Yeah.
years.
99-year lease.
Holy shit.
So in my opinion, if everyone can hear me, I think the Twin Towers, it represented American capitalism, right? You had a multitude of different businesses that resided in that building.
A
And
lot of
attacking
banking
that,
and all sorts of stuff.
absolutely, attacking that on a global scale would send a message, which it did, right? I think that's why it was targeted. Also, I don't know necessarily the height of all buildings in New York at that time.
I
Those
think
are
those were
very
the tallest buildings.
Those are very tall structures. They dominated
Yes.
the skyline. And I don't know the history of why they were built or what they were built for necessarily, but it made a statement. right? It was
It really
something
did,
that people
yes.
knew of at that time.
You're not safe.
You know, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to say there.
That would make sense, actually. That makes perfect sense to me, at least. I mean, it's like, obviously, we were in kindergarten, that would make you, like, 2 years old at the time. Like, what did the Twin Towers mean to us? Well, nothing. Like, we never really got to saw
Yeah.
them or anything. So that's why I asked that question, because I wasn't sure for myself, but that makes sense. That does make sense.
Also, I think if they were going somewhere like to the White House or something crazy, they would have just been blown out of the sky in a millisecond. So
I thought it was Plane 4 supposed to go for the White House.
I mean, they were
The
going
one
to
that crashed in
Pentagon.
the field. Well, the one that hit the Pentagon. I thought the fourth one was supposed to go for the White House, and they crashed it in a field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
They re-hijacked it back, right? So
Yeah. They took it
They
back
just
over and
stopped
crashed
them.
it.
There's a book about it that I'll insert here later about, like,
Heroes.
yeah, it's all about, like,
Straight up.
you know, it's all taken from, like, phone calls and texts that were going on, like, on that plane after they took it back, but, like, they had to, like,
I
crash
did
the...
hear some of those.
Yeah,
You take it back, then you don't know how to land the fucker, and it's like, well, this is the best I can do right here, honestly. So
if only YouTube was more prevalent back then.
Well, so now
yeah,
here's
how to
the
land a
thing
747 in the
how to
field.
land it. No,
that I'm
it's
confused
super
about.
fucked up, though. Yeah.
So not confused about, but a question. So, like, do you think that because the Secret Service are those the people that like protect the president? Is that what they're called?
The Secret Service has a couple jobs, and actually protecting the president is, like...
Counterfeit money too.
Or like just like government buildings, like important buildings
No,
like that?
actually, how it works is so they have, like, two main jobs, but their secondary job is, like, being security detail for the president. Their main job is to, like, lawfully enforce and protect, like, the U.S. Treasury, and that does include counterfeit money, like someone said earlier. But that's their main job. Their main job is to protect U.S. currency. That involves, you know, money laundering to some degree, but mostly counterfeit money and literally security, both technologically and physically, around the places that actually print money. They also are in charge of, you know, somewhat monitoring the money that's printed, like making sure what is being ordered to be. That's a whole separate conversation, but
Yeah, I honestly only thought they protected the president.
no, it's mostly the
Yeah,
U.S.
it's weird.
Treasury. That is their main job there.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, like, do you think it was more secure back then or now, considering the assassination attempt on Trump? What would you say? Like, it was more secure in that sense back then or now?
Well, I mean, I can't say that because that's a whole different episode. Is Trump shooting, right? There's a lot of weird shit that went on there too, man. I mean, I look at it objectively. The whole thing is weird. And no, if anything, at the very least, it was a severe fuck up on security part that something like that would ever happen. You know, but at the end of the day, it could have just been a publicity stunt. Like, how do I fucking know? But something's wrong about that. And that's why we're talking about 9/11. Like, there's
Yeah,
something...
that is a good one.
Something like people fucking can look at 9/11. Yeah, it just feels like something's off, you know? And that's why we talk about it. I mean, we may not be right, but shit. Something's still off about it.
It would be a whole lot of coincidences lined up together.
That's true. What's off about it to me is
The odds are very strange.
It's how, like, that could even happen. Did the whole terrorist incident happen because, like, at the time, like, after the plane was hijacked, there was really no way to let, like, air control or...
It was a whole different time, too. They
Yeah.
were
I don't
loosey-goosey.
know, yeah.
You would never think somebody would
Well,
do that.
right after
Right,
that, the
that's true.
Patriot Act got signed, and then the FFA.
Yeah, so let's talk about
yeah.
it.
Or
When I was
FFA
thinking
or
about what
TSA. I can't remember.
TSA got ramped up times a trillion, so...
Do you guys remember? No, you guys probably don't remember, but when 9/11 happened, when the Twin Towers or whatever the first one happened, like, I forget how the timeline. Does someone remind me of the timeline of that day? Like, did the Twin Towers get hit first, or did the Pentagon get hit first?
I think the
I
towers were
believe
first.
it was the first tower, then the second tower, then the Pentagon. I could be
Okay.
wrong.
And then the field crash.
So during that time, George W. Bush was at a school
Yeah, reading to the kids.
reading to the kids.
That's another weird one where it's like it's
Isn't that weird though? 'Cause, like,
obviously just a planned event, but it's like we got to think about now. How often like is Trump, Biden, Trump the first term, Obama? Maybe I'm just not keeping up with it, but how often are they at a school like doing a heartwarming press event, and then it's like, what? The first
I mean,
tower
it's
just
not
fell?
very
It's
common.
like, what the fuck? It's like it's just all surreal.
It was kind of weird too, because I think there was one conspiracy video talking about how the kids were chanting like "goat," like just "goat" over and over or something like that. It was kind of
Blazing
weird.
Bush.
goat, like the animal, the goat.
Yeah, and it was like kind of like a cultish,
Oh, I'm thinking of it in today's
Well,
terms.
you know what?
Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
We are gonna mention
That is
briefly
weird.
right here, and then we're gonna get back to 9/11. But George W. Bush was in that Skull and Bones.
yes.
It's like this secret society that's a part of Yale University, but there's a very rich history on it, and I just brought it up for other people on the podcast right now. Check it out because it's interesting. Look up Skull and Bones. Research Skull and Bones, and you'll see a pattern. It's very interesting. But yes, I doesn't the whole thing around 9/11 seem kind of coordinated to you? Like they have the cameras in place at the right times. They have Bush doing the most humanitarian thing ever, reading to children, and then getting the call and being filmed
Yeah,
live.
it's like
all this,
Buddy couldn't be more
Yeah.
likable right now.
exactly, dude. Like I just feel like it's off. It's off putting to me. We were talking about the steel beams, how like they can't like, and I don't know this for sure, but a lot of people say that the steel beams cannot be melted by jet fuel for a variety of reasons. I don't know. Piemonger, do you have any thoughts on that as a materials engineer? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I don't know all of the specifications, right? I don't know how high heats would have been after a plane crashes in the towers. I haven't had the opportunity to do enough research on that. But one thing to note is we don't need to melt the beams in order to collapse the towers. Okay. You need to significantly weaken hold on. We need to weaken beams to do so. So obviously as materials, especially metals, as they increase in temperatures, their strength goes down typically. And that's quite possible in this scenario without knowing more, right? I haven't seen all the different specs, but let's say that like steel melts around 2,500 degrees, Celsius, if I'm correct.
Fahrenheit.
Is it Fahrenheit? Yeah, that makes more sense.
I was gonna say, to add to your point, it says jet fuel burns from 800 to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and it says steel beams melt at 2,200 to 2,500 Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
But at 650 to 800, they lose half their strength, nearly half their strength.
Yeah.
So that also adds to the argument of the tower falling over instead of just completely imploding on itself.
I guess the problem that I have is the whole melt argument. They were not melting at those temperatures.
It
It's just
didn't
not
need to
happening.
melt to fail, but the way
Exactly.
it failed was very weird.
No, it makes sense to me that, and especially how the towers were designed. I mean, look at them; they were fucking pencils in the sky, right? If you had any sort of structural breach, that shit would fall down quick.
Yeah, if they over-engineered them by 30%, it still wouldn't be enough at fucking 1,500 degrees not to fail. But it's just
So imagine if those beams, right? So they didn't hit the tower right at the top, right? It's a few floors down. I don't know how many floors. Was it like about
Like
8.
75% of the way up. 83 to 88 and 50 something to 60 something, I think.
You know, not being an expert or anything, but say if you weaken those beams there, right? You have all that load of those floors above, and the steel locally at that point, let's say it reaches 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, that does indeed weaken it. And it maybe, without, digging a little deeper, could that cause it to buckle? And then that residual force of everything above crashing down would cause a systematic collapse. I feel like it's definitely possible from my perspective, right? Because you took out, let's say, the top fifth of the tower. Maybe it's like a
Buckle, not
sixth.
collapse in on itself, though, no? I mean, you'd have to have every single floor below heated to the same amount for it to just completely buckle in on itself.
But locally, though,
Right.
that's not
Locally,
how.
for sure. But you
Well,
think the
no,
rest
I
would-
mean, okay, so you have numerous floors above, right? That mass is there.
Hey, you know what? Continue this, but somebody, while we're on the side here, look up where exactly the planes hit, and I want to put the exact math of how many floors above and.
Yes.
Like you said, locally. Just like I said, when you chop a wedge out of a tree, the weight buckles on itself and falls over.
Yes.
Yeah. If the rest, it didn't melt, it didn't heat them all, every floor. Like if it heated every floor up below to the same temperature, I could see it collapsing in completely on itself. But that didn't happen. It's local
All right.
damage.
Listen.
What?
So the first plane hit between 93rd and 99.
Okay.
And the second plane hit 77 to 85.
Yeah,
and
that's so high up.
They were 17 minutes apart.
17 minutes. So that would
And how
give.
many
We're
total
close.
floors?
First one
least
93 to
100.
99, and then the second one was 77 to 85.
Total floors is at least 100.
I also
Okay.
want to include, I'm going back a little bit, but I've been scheming here.
Yeah, I got tabs open for days.
I did a little research, and Larry Silverstein is the guy who bought the Trade Center in July of 2001. He, put the insurance policy against terrorist attacks on the buildings and whatnot.
What? Wait,
Specifically
it was
terrorist
It was a
attacks.
specific.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was
that's
just about
a
to
little
Yes.
fishy.
I didn't want to
Insurance
say 'cause
policy
I had
that
it pulled up,
covers
but I thought
terrorist
that's
attacks.
what it was.
So what's crazy though, I think this is interesting. This guy put this insurance policy on these things, and he's saying since two planes hit the building, he wants to count it as 2 terrorist attacks
Oh wow.
separately. So he was requesting double the amount.
Well, so he was.
That's why the
So-
policy
so
was
in
for
the wake-
3.5 and he got paid 4.5. They gave
But
him
in
extra.
that
Yeah, a
wake-
month
piece
later
of
is
shit.
crazy.
Yeah, he bought the buildings for 3.5 billion. That's what
And he
his
got
99-year
4.5
lease
mil.
was.
So hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here,
Told you,
right?
motherfuckers.
So you are a real estate tycoon that can afford something like the two towers, right?
The timing's sus. That's all we're
No,
saying.
the time.
The timing
Okay.
is- It
Timing
literally couldn't be
aside-
worse for Buddy. He might be a
But
great
like a
guy,
terrorist
but the
attack in
timing could not be
2001 is
fucking
kind
worse.
of
Hold
kind
on.
of weird.
Okay,
Also,
hold on.
when you get a homeowner's policy, my house isn't covered for a fucking terrorist attack. I know it's a skyscraper, but that's a pretty specific thing
Hold
to take
on.
a
I mean,
policy
maybe
out
it's just
for.
because it's New York.
Hold
I
on.
don't
Hold
know.
on. Okay, I guess my
Nothing
point.
like this ever happened
My
before,
point
though.
being is
True.
not knowing the specifics of the political situation at that time. Obviously, things have been deteriorating in, our policy with other countries, right? And perhaps, let's just say, this individual saw that there could be a risk to their particular business here due to what the towers represented in terms of capitalism and the companies that were represented there. I know that the timing does seem problematic.
yeah,
I
but
agree with that.
hindsight's 2020, though. You're thinking before anything like this ever happened before ever.
Fair.
Like now, of course, now we're like, yeah, I mean, but you're in 2001 and you just bought fucking the World Trade Center, and you're like, Yeah, terrorist attack for
but-
sure. Like, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think. Like, I mean, there is a way, but it's hard to be like, well, if you just think about it, it's like, yeah, now, like, it fucking happened. Like, you have to
That's
think
fair.
about it. That's
That's
just the
fair.
way
Like
it
I said,
is.
devil's advocate here. Could someone be, forward thinking enough?
We're gonna move
like
on.
before that, we never thought about sending drones over to kill thousands of civilians because we're mad, and we fucking did it. Like,
Yeah.
before the Civil War, you never thought anybody would give a fuck about slavery.
But
There's,
okay, devil's advocate
it's
aside.
just crazy.
Let's put the devil's advocate aside. And Hoopslinger had a great point about the timing. Is even if the devil advocate applied, like,
I mean, you don't flip a coin heads 50 times in a row. It's crazy.
I've done it once or twice.
Yeah, I'm just saying the odds are nuts. It's possible, but it's
But
like,
the
damn,
timing,
really? Come
the
on.
timing seemed pretty immediate. In regards to the tragedy that happened.
How long was it, Grapoopy? How long before? A month?
6 weeks.
7 weeks.
7
7
weeks.
weeks.
7 weeks, yeah. With Piedmonger, sorry. He also did not buy the insurance until he started leasing them. Like, he leased them out and got the insurance on it at the same time.
But that's
And once
ammo
again,
to the
terrorist
fucking
attack
arsenal,
policy,
man.
like that.
At the same time, he bought or leased them out 6 weeks before the
Well,
attack. 6,
was it
7
common
weeks.
in New York to do that, or like how
I
like on
can't
average
imagine.
Very
in
good
America,
question,
how
Wyatt.
many
I don't know.
people were getting those insurance policies on like bigger important
Yeah.
buildings? I mean, in New York and in America in general.
Yeah, true.
Like, was it more common than we think back then, though? I mean, but we know like all the shit that was happening back then, and how like wasn't that like
Yeah, but it would be like a
Afghanistan?
bomb outside. No, it was not like Afghanistan.
I don't
Afghanistan
know,
wasn't like Afghanistan in 2001 till 2003. So
well,
it's just they
I'm not
didn't
good
know.
with history. That's why I asked.
No, it's fine. It's just that was all after. Like, it was.
I know, but
There'd
like,
be like
could
a
someone
vehicle
look up
with a
like how
bomb
common
outside,
it was?
maybe.
Yeah.
You can. I don't know. But it wouldn't be like, yeah, they're gonna take this fucker down for sure.
Here's a
Yeah, no,
question.
that's a little.
I
weird.
wouldn't think. I
So-
don't know either. But I
So
was
after
3, so.
9/11, after the whole incident, and then I want to get back to the incident or anything else want to talk about it, but I think it's fascinating to think so pretty immediately. And I remember this being a big deal with my parents, and probably with everyone's parents at the time, because it was a big deal. But pretty immediately after 9/11 happened, the Patriot Act was put into place. And the thoughts I have in my head are like the Patriot Act to me seems like the foundation of data mining.
Yes, 100%.
That's where the NSA came from, right?
I think I would have to check that, but I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. It was just freedom for
Expanded
security.
surveillance powers, act allowed border surveillance capabilities, including ability to tap domestic and international phones.
Yeah.
For the purposes of harvesting data. It was a whole data
Mhm.
mining.
Well,
For
the
security.
purpose of protecting America, in
Yeah.
quotation
You're
marks,
right.
since you
yeah,
can't
it
see me,
definitely
but
had nothing to do with data mining. It was definitely all data
well, it
mining.
probably
And that
did,
act
but it was to
sacrificed
protect
a lot
America,
of.
in quotation
It
marks again.
sacrificed a lot of freedoms for security.
So NSA
act.
was established in 1952, but they received extremely
lot.
expanded surveillance powers after 9/11.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting.
Also, another thing that's kind of interesting. It seems that before 9/11, there was major stock market activity about airline stocks. A lot of put options were created and filled before 9/11. So basically meaning people were betting essentially on airline stocks to go
fail?
down.
To
Yes.
fail?
Yes.
That is.
Yes.
Oh, they
that-
were shorting him.
Whoa.
Yes, they
Yeah,
were shorting
which-
the stocks.
which they
Yes.
took
So
a
No
fat
this
cut
isn't
on after
even just to
2001,
clarify.
so-
That's not a conspiracy. Like that's
That's
how
no,
stocks.
that's
That's how like if we went
insider
back in
trading
time.
right
There
there.
was increased
Yeah.
unusual stock market activity before on
So I
airline
guess-
stocks before the
I
fucking
guess we have to
9/11.
stop
Damn.
here. We're gonna bring up the conversation, and Poop Slinger is gonna start it. Was 9/11 an inside job? Go. What are your
Ooh,
thoughts on that?
I mean, we
Side?
didn't even talk about Tower 7 just toppling by itself. I would say it's
All right,
probably
all right,
like
all right.
70%, which is disgusting,
Okay, so hang on.
I would say.
How about
but-
let's spread this up? Explain Tower 7 because I need a refresher on Tower 7.
Let me look.
Time,
It's
time,
the
time.
fucker just fell.
Building 7, I think it was right next to one of the
Well,
towers,
actually,
and it fell down.
Let me pull up another tab. It says it's by the north top, but the only one. I mean,
We'll
it's
talk
another
about
one
it
where
again
it's
when we
like
record again.
let's continue before we get too derailed here.
Yeah.
Was 9/11 an inside job?
okay, hold on.
Everybody
hold on.
who
This
wants
is
to
it.
talk. Okay.
Sorry, he's
Sorry.
itching for Tower 7.
Honestly,
Tower 7, man.
Tower 7. So I actually don't remember much about this. As I understand it, it's like collateral damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
52. It says 52 stories. I mean, it's New York City. It's another World Trade Center building. Obviously, nothing else collapsed besides another one of the buildings on the insurance policy. Man, it's just another one of those things that's just so crazy. All the buildings in such a tight space. The only other one to fall that wasn't directly hit was under the insurance policy. I don't know.
Like my brother would be able to describe better. Like, if there's a structural flaw present, like, and you get hit with like the falling of the towers produced a force, and that wave of force was probably like just enough to send Tower 7 over, dude. I could be wrong about that though. I
Tower
don't-
7.
But it's the only one.
Building 7. But
It's the only one.
I could see both the towers falling down. It could create probably like some sort of magnitude. I don't know what the reading on
For
it would
sure,
be,
but
but
it's the only one.
it vibrate the ground.
That's
If
my
Building
only
7
thing.
was shitty put together, it
Did another
could
one fall that I'm not
destabilize
aware
the
of?
foundation and fall down. No, I think
Wait,
it was
what do you
just
mean
Building
another
7.
one fall?
Only buildings that fell in 9/11 were under the insurance policy. They were all World Trade Center buildings. It's
Was
not.
Tower 7 a World Trade Center building?
It's World Trade Center Tower 7.
Was it also
That
under
is what
the-
it's called.
Was it also under that insurance policy?
That's a good question.
Because if that is the case, isn't that just like proof in plain sight that something really weird
I
went on?
had one pulled up. Let me see.
Possibly.
It said all the ones.
Yes, it was.
It was.
It
was.
All right.
Holy shit! So was it also owned by the
That
same guy?
cut out so
Obviously,
bad.
Yes.
Yes,
No
Yes, it
on
was.
that
dude,
insurance
that is
policy,
not
yes.
real. How far away was Tower 7?
Wait.
How
And it
far?
was across the street, I believe.
Across-
370 feet.
Okay, well then it would
Oh,
be
man,
close to the
that's actually
forest. It
farther
would be
than
close
I
to the
expected.
forest.
So listen,
Okay.
this is crazy. Just real quick, this is crazy.
That's a few city
All right,
blocks.
Grapoopy,
That is-
True.
Grapoopy has the floor for a second.
So Tower 7 went. So what? The other two towers got hit at 9 o'clock around there, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Tower 7 collapsed at 5:20 p.m.
What?
I
What?
mean, man, like
Oh.
I don't know
But
what else to
that
say.
far along-
5:20 p.m.
So what are you
Alright.
on? You're like on Wikipedia or something? Like what is the what's the
Probably.
You don't want to know what I'm on, but listen.
lowdown?
I mean,
TikTok?
Wikipedia would probably tell you the same
No,
thing right there.
No, but I'm
Wikipedia
just
is fairly
like
accurate.
my point is like these are just facts. We're just reading
Yeah.
facts that are on the internet, right? About
100%.
9/11.
Yes.
Yeah, easily accessible.
And does
well-trusted.
that not
fairly
sound
well
weird?
trusted.
Does that not sound weird how we just recounted those facts? Like that doesn't sound very
I have a
Sounds like an
question
inside
now.
job.
Yeah,
Speaking of the inside job,
that was the question. Was
So do you
9/11
think-
an inside job?
Yes.
yes. Do you think the guy who owned the tower that leased it out in
Barry
July or
Silverstein.
whatever, that guy, yeah, Mr. Silverstein and Bush were working together? Because
Possible.
what is the whole Bush's involvement in it? That's what I don't get. I'm not too
To go
familiar
over
with
to
it
the Middle
all.
East and get oil.
Is it
Because
all
didn't
about
he
Dick
like fuck
Cheney
them
too?
over a lot too?
Yeah, Dick Cheney too. Yep.
So what do you think the probability of those two working together were?
Fairly high.
I don't even.
And like, where is that guy now? What
Bit
is
of
he
a
doing
tangent.
now with all that
George
money?
Bush supposedly was involved with the whole JFK assassination too.
What?
So I
Like,
don't fucking
What
know.
is this man doing?
George Bush Senior, right? Not
Mhm.
Junior, obviously.
I believe so.
I don't know if he was involved or Larry Silverstein got tipped off or whatever, but either Bush was fully involved or he just
Was a
absolutely
puppet.
took advantage of the craziest situation ever by enacting the Patriot Act and just running fucking wild.
So
Yeah.
okay,
Which
See,
also
like-
seems less likely than fucking him knowing, but
so what was his statement when it happened? Like, what did he say and come out to the public? Like, it's a
I forget the
fucking
exact
terrorist
statement.
attack. He can't just be like, "Oh, this was a tragedy to our community. Get well soon." Like,
No, I think he basically came out and said we were gonna fucking turn whoever did this to glass,
Yeah.
basically.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They literally just blew
I mean,
like,
that's
this shit
pretty
up,
bad.
and you're gonna
once,
say,
once again,
yeah.
that's the response you want. That's exactly what we wanted to hear.
He was like, if you're not with me, you're against me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if that happened right now, that's what I would want to hear. It's like we're turning them to fucking ash. Like
Like,
that's
and
all
then
there is to it. what you'd
everyone
want.
should join as well and just
But
bomb
did
the
he,
terrorists.
like-
You know, listening to
Did
it on
he-
other places, it's
was he
like
just
that's when the
focusing
country is
it-
most together. So Buddy could have said anything that was kill terrorists, and we would have voted yes
Well,
on it.
yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I get that.
That's why the
obviously,
Patriot Act
that's
went
fucked
through
up.
because it's like give away
Mhm.
all your rights, and we're like, yeah, kill them for sure.
But at the same rate, like, people act like they had a part in the decision of the Patriot Act getting voted into law when
No.
that was
well,
the
you
people
never
we.
have a, it's
No,
Congress, yeah.
exactly. But like, people took that so personal. At the end of the day, like,
But nobody fought back against
Yeah,
it.
but it's like, you
exactly.
wanna
That's what
hear
kills
Because
that?
it's
me.
like you're gonna say terrorists are good. That's what it was. If
Yeah,
you
that
don't
was.
like
Pretty
the,
much.
the
They
Patriot
did-
Act, you hate,
they
you love
did.
terrorists, and you're a
They
piece of shit.
presented that narrative against
Yeah.
that.
And it was like, here goes your rights. We're listening to everything you say. NSA has $1 trillion a year now, or not that much, but
I know he like talked about wanting to kill them and shit, but like, did he also talk about investigating more on it?
I mean that's what the whole thing. We
Okay,
started
but
a
like
war.
getting to the bottom of it and starting a war and like blowing their shit
Well,
up
we
are two
eventually
different
killed
things.
Osama bin Laden. That's what
Well,
it
yeah,
was.
that's good, but like,
I'm sure they found him like 3 months in, and we're just like, yeah, we want this oil. Like there's
Yeah,
no
that's
way.
fucked up.
When did they kill Osama? Who was the conspirator?
Like
Fucking
2000
2009.
10.
It was
I think?
Obama.
08.
Or Saddam.
010,
What about like
something
I
when?
thought it was 08
Oh,
or
Saddam.
10.
Yeah, when
Saddam
Iraq
Hussein?
was
filthy
randomly
piece of
brought in.
shit, but
Saddam might have been before 9/11. I can't remember.
he was.
I am so
well,
bad
he
with
died before
history.
Osama. I know that. I don't know
Saddam was
when.
So
like,
who was he?
Desert
Was he a
Storm. I
part of
think
a
that was
terrorist group?
early
Was that Al
90s.
Qaeda?
During all those times, WikiLeaks was like really interesting because it had all the interesting disclosures on
Well,
Wep-
that was the guy
Oh,
before
shit.
Snowden, right? Who was that?
Chelsea
forget his
Charles Mansing, Chelsea Mansing now, but
Yeah.
Okay.
that stuff was all
Yeah,
was all crap.
Snowden was another one where it's like, look what they're still doing, guys.
Yeah.
That's off topic, but it's just insane. The ripple effect caused by this that benefited the government so substantially to do whatever the fuck they wanted is just incredible.
and it changed like everything in America too.
Majorly.
It is a big ass ripple. Just
What do you think
overstating
the
the
world
obvious,
would
but
be like if 9/11 never happened? That was a bit of a deep one.
Who fucking
but-
knows? It's just it's been so long now where it's like so
Yeah, I
many
know.
things
Imagine
would be
life
different. It'd
without
be a
it, yeah.
completely different world.
Like, would borders
You'd
be
be
as
able to fly on a
secure?
plane with a tube of toothpaste. It'd be a whole different fucking experience.
Yeah, we don't. You could have.
You
You
know?
could have
Well, I'm
like,
not
people.
familiar with what
even just
changed because
mundane
I was
things
1
like
year
that, it'd be
old
a whole different
when
fucking thing.
the
You
attack
could-
happened.
You could watch. You could watch your parents fly away, like right at the gate.
Yeah, you can't fucking do
You can't-
anything now.
Has
No.
anything like 9/11
No
ever
long-ass TSA
happened
line.
before?
Yeah.
Like,
There's been quite a few terrorist attacks,
I
but
mean,
no,
I
I mean
America,
like
though?
terrorist
Scale,
attacks, yeah, but like
Not,
something
that
not
like
on
that.
American
level-
soil, no. Fuck no.
No.
Not
on
at
that
all.
level, probably not.
Probably in
Is
other
this-
countries, but
I mean, the-
definitely
what,
not in
2,500,
America.
Boston Marathon
3,000
bombing.
people that died?
Not even close.
man.
But yeah, since then, probably the Boston Marathon.
That one was fucked.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that
probably
one
the
was
closest.
Okay,
Also,
but would you count
only,
school
like,
tragic,
shootings as
not even
terrorist
close.
attacks? Like Sandy Hook, would you count that as
Or,
a
like-
terrorist attack?
I mean, I would,
No,
but
that was
still
just a
not
school
even
shooting.
to the same
Or
fucking.
Would you? What
I
about
guess it
the
depends, but not
the
even to the
Vegas
same
shooting?
degree.
guy?
Yeah,
Would you
but
count
not
that?
even
I
close.
don't know how many
50,
people died in
50,
that.
Like,
60
what do you
people?
what do you
Yeah.
300
like
injured,
consider? What is classified as a terrorist attack?
Oh, what is an act of terrorism? It's I mean, it's literally to terrify the public and for political or whatever reasons, I think, roughly. So I guess a lot of things could be a terrorist attack.
The first one that would come to my mind is the guy that blew up, I think it was an ATF building. That was well before 9/11.
I mean, the last attempt
But
was
he
by the
didn't
Unabomber,
really
and that
kill
still only would have
anybody.
been 100-something people, at least with
I don't
planes,
think
anyways.
he killed. That's a different topic. That whole ATF
Wait, he
building
didn't kill any,
bombing.
but terrorist attacks, like
Yeah, but like
with
at
planes.
the same time, he didn't
that
kill
he didn't do
anybody in an
anything.
ATF
Yeah.
building. Like they told him not to come into work and blew up the building. I don't. That whole thing's a different story. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't think
The whole
anything
thing's
touches
weird.
9/11 on American soil, even close.
What about the Pentagon? Like, what was up with that? I know a plane crashed into the Pentagon.
The
I mean, the
biggest thing
video
with
of
that
it.
is, well, not even the video. It was the military / Pentagon got audited, and it was like they failed the audit, and it was like $2.3 trillion.
Was that-
I think?
Was that the first year though? Because that's been happening like every year since.
Well, yeah,
ever.
but this was the year
what-
that
but was that the
their
first
financial
year?
department got hit with a plane / missile and got blown up.
No,
So
definitely. But was that the first year? Because I think it started a long streak of them failing every audit at some point. I don't know if it was
that might have been the start, but who knows?
okay. They fail audits constantly. I'm sure it goes back to then. But also to me, the only video is like from a parking lot across the street. Like
Yeah, it's 240p,
All
like
the
3
cameras-
FPS.
Because
It's
CCTV
really
Yeah,
bad.
all the
wasn't popular
cameras-
back then, right?
no. But all the cameras at the Pentagon, like there wasn't surveillance. There's no
Yeah, that's weird.
You would think the probably most secure
There's no
building,
nothing?
besides maybe the White House,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
would have a little more.
The only place that had
surveillance, but
cameras
who
were
knows?
like government buildings and like that would be one of the places. Like there's more footage of the planes hitting the towers than there is of the Pentagon.
Here's a
by
question. I have a
1,000.
question. Was the
Yeah, yeah.
Pentagon insured by the same company that insured
Ooh, that's good.
the towers?
I don't believe so because it's a federal entity.
Oh
But
yeah.
I don't know.
Let's
a lot
go
are
local
self-insured
states.
too.
Yeah, that's true too. So let's see what's up. Grapoopy,
Okay,
show
it up.
me. Was the
pull it
Pe-
up, young Jamie.
was the Pentagon
I'm on it,
insured
hold
by
on.
the same people that insured the Twin Towers and Tower 7 for terrorism?
That would be fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I know,
Case
I wa-
closed
I
at
wa-
that point.
I want to know. We'll end the podcast right then and there. If it comes back as true, we're just ending the podcast.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
A lot of government entities are self-insured.
Yeah, no, that's not true. That would be
It's
absolutely
just too
crazy if it
expensive.
was, though.
I,
would
I,
be.
I had to know. I was
Yeah,
doubtful,
I think
but I had to
government entities are insured by our tax dollars.
know. Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
they are
That's-
insured by
that-
tax
that-
dollars.
Pie
That's
Monger's
definitely
talking.
true.
Oh, sorry.
Hold
up.
They're insured by our tax dollars. Let's be honest here.
Yes.
They're not doing a
100%.
third party bullshit. That's our money. I mean,
I know allegedly the post office is all self-insured,
That's
so
Oh, God.
I would assume
crazy. That is crazy.
a lot of it's too expensive, brother. A lot of vehicles.
Yeah, I get that.
But
Mhm.
I would assume a lot of the government's the same. It's not even worth
No.
having a policy.
They got the
Extremely.
pool of tax dollars to fucking spend. It's fine.
We covered the Twin Towers. We covered the Pentagon. We covered Tower 7. We did briefly touch on the plane that crashed that was heading for the White House.
The heroes in the field.
The heroes in the field, yes.
I don't know about that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, it's a book that's written, but you can't, like, I don't trust anything, so I don't know. I just don't, I don't trust it. I think anything around something as fishy as 9/11 is, you got to really question what information's out there about it.
I do want to say, obviously, amazing act of bravery crashing that cunt in the field because you can't land it. But I just want to say, like, I guess, I mean, you know what happened. What would you like? Imagine if that was you. I guess you fucking storm the cockpit and you save the day, and then you realize, like, fuck, dude.
I couldn't.
The best thing I can do is just crash this bitch in a field.
No, I couldn't. The shit that gets me is hearing the phone calls of like people trying to call their families
Yeah,
on that plane.
shit's
I didn't
those
even know
people
about
are
9/11 until I was in the
absolute.
4th grade.
I don't know about martyrs,
Oh.
but as close as you can get. Like, that shit's fucking. You literally just made the best out of the worst situation.
I'm not
It's
too
so fucking
privy
bad.
on the story on here. Did the not the flight attendants, those might not have been a thing back then.
I
The
think they
security
were,
guard
but-
on the plane, whatever
Yeah,
the
I don't know
fuck they're
about air
called.
marshals. I don't know about
Yeah.
air marshals, but I don't think it was
Because I
that big
think
a thing
air
until after
marshals
this.
are trained to fly a plane, technically. Like, very
Yeah, to land
smallly
that
trained.
bitch.
I could be wrong,
Like,
though,
dude,
about
back
that.
in the day, like the
Well-
host said, you could just, or Dr. Salt said, you can just jump on a fucking plane, dude. Like,
Because I know
I
they
go
think
give
in
the
there with
pilot
cash,
control
your
agents-
ID, and fly fucking anywhere. It didn't matter.
Well, flight control people are trained to talk you through landing too. I'm pretty sure.
Was there no radio contact between this plane and?
Well, have you seen a cockpit?
I've seen a cockpit. Yeah, that's not what
Well,
I'm saying.
imagine
I mean,
you
like,
just hijack that bitch back, though. Like,
I don't
Yeah.
think they ever hijacked
your heart
the
rate
back.
would be like
I think they just wrestled.
190, dude. Like, you'd be fucking panicking.
I think they just. I don't think they ever took it back over. I think they just wrestled over the controls until it fucking.
Well, the pilot had to be down for the
When
count,
those
or he
first-
would have landed that.
Oh,
bitch.
they killed the pilot and
Yeah.
co-pilot, I believe.
Well, I don't think the people on the plane ever took it back over from the terrorists. I think they just wrestled over
We're
the controls
fighting
until the
and it
fucker-
crashed.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you have to listen to the black box, but I guess
That's-
I
I
guess
don't know.
just imagine
that-
if you were in
is
that
that
scenario.
public?
Like, that's all you could do anyways.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I imagine it is for something like that. Oh, another thing that's funny. My God, I forgot about that shit. The passport that they found on a street.
Oh,
like 3
completely
blocks
unburned.
down.
The whole fucking plane's
From
destroyed, and it's
the
just a
towers,
perfect passport
yes.
of the guy. It's like, it's
Yeah,
him. It's right here. It's
That's
a Middle
a
Eastern
different
guy. Had to
story
be.
right there. That shit is nuts.
Yeah,
and that shit was on
that's
national
crazy.
news too. That they're like
Yeah, that one
showing
is
it
nuts as
around
fuck.
like, oh, that's the biggest red flag for me right
Like,
there.
whoopsies. There's no
is
witnesses
insane.
and one passport. We know who did it.
Yeah.
Like, what, you know, it's like the whole thing's wild.
So I guess we do final thoughts, unless we're missing a topic that touched all the so-called conspiracy theories.
I
I
touched a
know,
lot of the
and
major
I
ones.
learned a lot actually. I learned a lot.
Me too. I
learned a
didn't
lot.
know shit, honestly. I mean, I knew some stuff, but not much. Yeah, what do you think the intentions were? Like the
Well, since you bring it up,
on the American
um,
side and the terrorist side, like if they were in cahoots, what do you think
Well,
each
there is
person was
the
going for?
there is the theory. There is a theory that they knew it was going to happen and they let it happen.
that's what I was gonna elaborate on. The
I do have a thought once you're done, Slinger.
yeah, the Patriot Act was probably a gigantic motivator, and this is slightly more down the line, but along the lines with the Patriot Act. The Harvey Act
What's
in
the Harvey Act?
2011
Yeah, what's
under
that?
Obama, it expanded. This is more like modern stuff, but it expanded the CIA, USAID kind of deal to where they could act on domestic grounds instead of
mean?
just being international propaganda we spread. It opened it up to domestic acts.
Yeah.
So I think it was, let's just sell these 3,000 lives minimum, 3,100 ish, plus all the other people with later effects from cancer and stuff, to literally just completely take over and do whatever the fuck we want constantly. There's no more rules.
Just reap the rights of the people.
I think it was all just a disgusting long play.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, these people are geniuses. Like,
We can talk about the Illuminati on a
Hold
different
on,
episode.
in my
Oh, don't
opinion,
even get me
Yeah.
started, Beyonce.
yeah, in my opinion, if it was all a long play, and if this was an attempt to, start a war with, with the Middle East in terms of, Desert Storm and whatnot, right? I feel like there's a way to accomplish that in the American public without such a massive loss of life. And I believe that would have been done first if that was truly the intent. Now, I mean, I guess there could be a question of whether or not it was.
I believe it also drastically accelerated it and gave them approval of the public at the same
Yeah,
time.
I guess I don't know what the number is to cause massive.
There's no action without reaction. You can't just be like, okay, sign your rights away for nothing. There's got to be something you're giving up. I agree with you, but I think it was a demented
It just
way
sucks.
to
It's like, it's a strange situation that we can even think about it in multiple facets like this, right? Obviously, the whole thing doesn't quite make sense, so we just try to make sense with it. And we have, we can see it from multiple angles. We're looking at it different ways. And yet, it's
like
still
I
a
said,
mystery.
flipping heads 50 times in a row is not impossible.
I
but
told
it
you
is
I did it
improbable.
twice, and I told you I've done it twice.
I
in
know
my
what you're
life.
saying, but I'm just saying.
I'm joking.
It's definitely possible, but it's like, damn, that's crazy.
It's all good. Well, then I'm gonna open this up for ending thoughts. Anyway,
I think
we're gonna go one at a
Yeah.
time.
I think from my side, if I can say something, right, it's it's something I haven't done enough research on, but understanding the sociological environment that this happened in, right? So like terrorist attacks were not new at this point. They're happening all over the globe before 9/11.
But not
Not in America, but
This
I
became-
will
yeah,
say
yeah.
anyone maybe that's forward thinking and says, "Hey, I just have one of the largest buildings that hosts, companies from across the United States and the world within it, might be a place for a terrorist attack and take out an insurance policy." I feel like that's possible.
I will say, to contribute to Piemonger, the Holocaust, the Vietnam War, the Civil War, we're used to bloodshed. So it's not the most astronomical thing either at the same time. It is odd, but it's not out of the nuking Japan. It's not out of the realm of
That
possibilities.
was a small amount of lives compared to everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not
out of the
saying-
realm of
I'm not-
possibility of things that happened.
I'm not
prior.
saying that this was inevitable.
I guess Pearl Harbor would be a big act of terrorism that we experienced as well. So it's also not the first time we've had planes flown into our ship.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
not saying that it was, an event quite like that, and I'm not saying that it could have been necessarily prevented. All I'm saying is that the data is there to suggest that more violence would continue at that time. And being a business owner at that day and time, yes, I agree that the date is a little sketchy in hindsight on when those insurance policies were taken out. But
Yeah, but also, in your
you also
favor here,
don't buy a
he
$3.5 billion
Yes.
building without having rolled the dice
Yes.
before in your life and
But
fucking won
at the
big
same
on it.
time, he did put the insurance on it right when he leased
yeah,
it
which
out
makes sense.
at the same time.
Yeah, it wasn't like 4
Yes.
years later. Or...
But it was only like
But
not
he
even
also
Something weird
leased
as
them out
fuck.
6
like a
weeks
month
before, but-
beforehand.
I didn't think about it, but Pearl Harbor was a big one where we fucking ate planes before, so it actually isn't a new idea. It was actually like
But that
60
was
years
an
old at
active
that
war.
point.
I mean,
Wasn't it though?
No, not quite active
I
war.
think the difference.
No, we
we
were not in active
didn't
war,
declare
but
war on Germany and Japan
it wasn't
and
it
Italy
wasn't a
until
new idea.
after
I'll
the
say
fact.
it was not a new idea to fly planes
Well,
into our shit. The Japanese did it 60
No,
years
but
prior.
I think what's
I didn't think about
I think
that
what's
at first.
different
they
about
didn't
9/11
fly
though
planes in the
is
shit.
that you're seeing commercial.
Like
No,
unprovoked.
well, okay, there's a lot of differences, but you're seeing commercial.
Well, it's
You're
definitely
seeing
different,
commercial
but it's just
airliners
that
being
idea
flown
in general.
into
Yeah.
property,
Harbor was
right?
more
Yeah.
unprovoked.
That is a bit-
unprovoked
It was our
than
own
9/11,
shit,
to be
but they didn't
honest.
have nothing of themselves.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have fighter
But
fighter
that
jets
means
and
like
shit.
they,
So it's
they
like
got through fucking TSA,
the next step.
they flew on,
Their
and then they
TSA
hired
Yeah,
wasn't
TSA was
like
a
it
joke
was.
back then.
Well, I know.
We have to stop.
we
We have to stop because I have to
We're
tell
going
a
on an hour
very.
and 45.
I have to tell a very important story. When I was in Boy Scouts, one time we sat around a circle in silence, and the only person that could talk was the person who held the feather. And this podcast, especially the last 2 minutes that are going to be hell for me to edit,
R.I.P. brother.
the last 2 minutes of this podcast made me want to introduce this feather concept where we have to pass a feather around.
I
We need a
agree.
fucking feather bad.
Honestly, very fun.
He'll
but,
just get edited out.
but also,
It's fine.
let's do the same thing again. All right, there's 9 people here. We're gonna take the vote right now before we end the episode. Do you think 9/11 was an inside job? Yes or no? There's no way we can tie because we have an odd number.
yes.
Put your votes anonymously in the, or not anonymously, but put them in the chat. Type them in the chat, and I'll. It looks like we're 8-1.
That is-
people. One person said
That is
no.
fucking crazy, in my opinion. I'm sorry to say.
Hey,
No,
hey,
one
something
person
was
did
wrong.
not
yes. Hey,
Wait, I
people
typed
said
yes. It's saying to root. What the
No,
fuck
that's
is
the whole
Taroot?
chat.
You're good.
No,
You're
let's
good.
see.
Oh,
You're
okay.
good. I'm the
Okay.
no.
You got
I'll
two-
admit it, but like,
You got 2 yeses from me.
Well,
fuck,
well, it's
dude.
not a
Seriously,
dumbass.
it's. I understand that some of it's problematic, and there might have been some insider shit going on, but the extent of the attacks was not planned by our government because there is much better
What do you
fucking
think
ways to do it.
happened?
Now,
If we wanted to invade the
I'm
Middle East,
voting
we could have
inside
done it
job.
differently.
Negligence.
I'm in voting inside
Negligence
job
of
because
protecting
I
Americans
believe
is an
Well,
inside job as well.
I did.
so.
I did want
All
to
right,
say.
who has the feather?
they knew something was
Hey,
going to
God damn it!
happen.
I have the fucking feather.
Yes.
I
You
haven't
have the feather.
passed it
Go.
to any other Boy Scout yet. I think it's important to note that inside job, we didn't really define that. That can be in very relative and loose terms.
They had knowledge.
You know, degrees. It can be different degrees. They had knowledge as you effectively admitting it was an inside job.
I want to end my statement with negligent homicide is something you can be charged with in the U.S. So that is my argument to it's an inside job.
Ooh, that is
I guess
valid.
if I guess from
That
my
is a
side,
mic
I need to
drop.
see the data that we actually knew that these events were going to happen. I know we can sensationalize this.
Statistics and probabilities.
That's not
Let's never
necessarily
let's never
evidence.
release that
If I don't
into
see
a-
an email
indicator, it's not
chain
evidence.
or a
It's
fucking
an
text
indicator, not
message
evidence.
saying, "Hey, yo, something's gonna go down," which we don't have.
You think they'll ever let us see that?
It's just like if you killed your wife, you're 90% likely to be the person who did it.
That's
It's
still
not evidence,
bullshit.
but
That's
it's
not
like-
evidence to me. That's
No, I'm
statistics.
telling you, it's not evidence, but it's
It's
like
just
No,
how it is.
You
Now, did
probably
the U.S.
did it.
maybe profit off of this in a really horrible way? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does that mean that we caused it or took
That's
advantage?
insider trading. insider trading is also illegal.
Well,
so
if there's one thing we can all
Damn,
agree on
that is
tonight
something.
is that the situation was taken advantage of, was it not?
Yeah,
At
for
the
sure.
very
I'll agree to
least.
that.
So-
I'll agree to
at the
that.
absolute bare minimum.
Conspiracies and bullshit aside, the situation was harvested to its utmost potential.
and we
to
still
get
feel
the
the
most
effects today.
out of the sheep
Literally changed
that is
history
the
forever.
U.S. population.
Yes, 110%.
That's how I feel about it. You guys, we live in a big free country. We have so many rights that 90% of Americans don't even realize what they really have and what they can really do in this country. Dude,
Yeah,
sign
we
me
we
the
have
fuck
we live in a
up.
country where you can say the country committed a fucking act of terrorism against itself and not be punished. So
That
It
is
could be
pretty
worse.
wild to think of, not gonna lie.
But it
I'm
was
sorry
good.
that no one agreed with my side of things, but I'm good
No,
with
you're
it.
fine. I
What?
it's
I
okay to
kind
be
of agree
wrong.
with you, honestly.
You're a very
well,
smart man.
Monger, we all agree with you. We just agree that there's also weird shit on top
I'm
of
just
that.
saying there's weird
With
shit
the loose-
everywhere, but let's
with the
define
loose
the weird shit
definition
where it's an
of an
inside
inside
job, bro.
job.
Like,
With the loose definition of an
yes,
inside
I get
job,
that.
I think it has to be.
Hey,
Yeah, I
I
think
agree
it
with
was
that.
more like-
I agree with that, Poop Slinger. Like,
I don't think it was.
Look.
I don't think it was an inside job. I think it was inside trading. I think there was an inclination that this was going to
Negligent
happen.
Yeah.
homicide and
sometime.
insider trading are illegal in the U.S., so whichever one you want to count it as, it is an inside fucking job. It is sus as fuck. The Patriot Act is
Yes,
fucking
the Patriot
AIDS.
Act was
The
Well,
Harvey
dude-
Act
awful.
to
He's throwing the book at
indoctrinate
y'all.
U.S.
I got the fucking
citizens with
feather now.
propaganda is fucking AIDS. The podcast is over. I can talk.
No, it's not.
It is
It's
all
still
fucking
going.
AIDS.
We're still
And the
It is all
recording.
fucking AIDS. And we gave up all our rights because they let a plane fly into the buildings. That is an inside fucking job. I don't
Honestly.
care who
God
you are.
bless
Ah,
America.
Jesus.
Did they call?
You
Did they
are
pay the
the
pilot
light
to fly
of
the
the
fucking plane?
world.
Probably not.
My lord.
You are the
theme
light
song.
I had the
of
feather. I had the
world.
feather. I fucking
gave
took
you
it out of your
the
And
hands
the
and I
Father
fucking
has
talked.
sent me. I
You better leave
sent
this
you.
in. It's gas. You better leave it
This
in.
is the
I just had
theme
a
song.
fucking.
We just declared it.
They killed JFK. They
Okay.
killed
Oh,
Martin Luther King
shit!
Jr. You think they wouldn't fly a plane into the buildings? You're fucking retarded. It's just how it is. That's just what it is. They're cheesing.
That's a great way to end the show. And
It's like
that-
us playing
that-
Call of Duty.
Hey,
It's meaningless
shut
death.
the
They don't
fuck
give
up.
a fuck.
It's gonna stay in the show. That was brilliant, but we have
Thank
to move
you.
on
Glad
from
you
this.
enjoyed my monologue.
I loved it. Point blank, period. It's over. This was a great conversation. But as always, don't like, don't subscribe, don't leave any comments. I thank you for everyone participating tonight, and have a good night. Hey, we already said it in the episode, but this is a more stern reminder to don't like, don't subscribe, don't leave comments, don't pay us any mind. And if your day sucked today, I hope it doesn't suck tomorrow.